The non-physical part of you expressed itself here forward and still does. So here's the cycle that we want you to get a sense of, because unless you understand this, nothing about what you're living here makes complete sense to you, and we really want it to. So the non-physical energy of you projected yourself into this physical body, and now in this physical body you explore your environment. And when you don't have enough of something you want it. When you see things that you like, you acknowledge that. When you see things that you don't like, you acknowledge that, and in doing so, acknowledge what you would prefer. So there is this constant honing and deciphering of life, which causes you to evolve to new wanting. Now, we want you to couple those two words together. Desire, new wanting, and evolve. It's more than two words, isn't it? But it's all the same thing. You evolve through the power of your desire. You become more. Now, this is the part that we really want you to hear. So the source became you, and then the you that you know as you achieved this new desire, and the source energy part of you became that new desire. Became the vibrational equivalent of that new desire. So we've written a book that has the best title that has ever been given to any book, anytime, anywhere, because it speaks about this cycle so powerfully. The title is Ask and It Is Given. Ask and it is. Ask and it is. And we would like to say something even more precise. When life causes you to ask, the non-physical part of you not only gives it to you, but vibrationally becomes what you have asked for. So when your life shows you shortage in some way, and your shortage causes you to ask for more clarity, or for more money, or for more wellness, or more for of anything that you are wanting, when you ask for more of it, the non-physical part of you becomes it instantaneously. And when the non-physical part of you becomes something that the rest of you doesn't become, you feel it. When the non-physical part of you becomes something that you go along with, you feel the harmony of that. That's what positive emotion is. When the non-physical part of you becomes something that you don't go along with, you feel the disharmony of that. That's what negative emotion is. Don't you love knowing that? So whenever you feel negative emotion of any kind, no matter what degree it is or what label you give it, it always means the same thing. Your life, you in this body, caused you to become something that you didn't stay up to speed with. The reason that you're not staying up to speed with the new idea, usually, is because you, in your blessed humanness, are beating the drum of justification. In other words, usually you're saying, I want more money because you see it's so hard over here without enough money. And I really, really would like more money, and I believe I deserve more money, but no more money never really comes to me. In fact, I hardly know anybody that has enough money, and the people that have enough money clearly don't deserve as much money as they have. They probably inherited it. They didn't earn it. In other words, what's the big deal? Why do they get money? And why do they get the tax breaks? It doesn't seem fair that the people with all of the money get all of the tax breaks, and those business owners that are doing all of that traveling and everything, and those people that drive those Cadillacs and smoke those big cigars. In other words, as you are feeling your lack of abundance, and in your feeling of justification about wanting it, you're beating the drum of that, you're not keeping up with the desire that you've asked for. So your source energy part of you is over here in your vibrational escrow, living the luxury and abundance that you have put there through your life, offering a vibration about it, and this is the most important part of all of this, offering a vibration about it and calling you eternally, incessantly, constantly calling you toward it. And when you go, you feel the relief of going in that direction, and when you don't, you feel the result of not going with the flow of all of that. Can you imagine taking your canoe down to the river's edge? You've got your oars already in the boat, and you turn it deliberately upstream and begin paddling. Hard, because it's a strong current. So you paddle, and we say, what do you think about just turning and going with the current? And our human friends say, oh, Abraham, that just seems lazy. And anyway, everybody that I know that's worth anything is like me paddling upstream. And we say, but why do you do that? And you say, ours is not to question why. Ours is just to do or die. In other words, we do it because that's what we've been trained to do, and it's because that's what everybody we know is doing. Everybody paddles upstream. And all of the rewards are for those who paddle upstream. If you really struggle hard and really get yourself into a terrible bind, people take notice. It's virtuous. And what they really say is, the rewards after we die are all about how hard we paddled against the current. And we say, friends, and we speak from broadest of views, nothing that you want is upstream. Everything that you want is downstream. Because everything that you want, Source has become and is calling you toward, and that's what makes the stream, you see. The current or the stream is about the desires that you've put there, and the fact that the non-physical part of you is there, living it and being it and calling you toward it. That's what inspiration is. When you follow the feeling of inspiration, you're moving with the current. When you practice the art, and many of you have worked to try to make it an art, of motivating yourself by pushing against what you don't want, thinking that that will give you leverage in the direction of what you do want, it doesn't, because in this universe that is based upon law of attraction, there is no such thing as no. This is an inclusion-based universe, which means when you say yes to something, you include it in your vibration. And when you say no to something, you include it in your vibration. So every time you say no to something, you're paddling upstream. You're paddling against the current. It is only when you say yes to what you're wanting that you begin to turn and go with the flow. This idea of the flow, if you will get this in your mind, and you will begin to realize that there is this powerful current that is flowing, and that if you will relax and let yourself go with it. In fact, we want to say you don't even have to turn your boat around and paddle in the direction of your vibrational escrow and of your source energy and of all of the wonderful things that you've created. You don't have to paddle that way. Just stop paddling that way, and the current will turn you and take you. And when the current turns you, and you begin going with the flow, you will begin to feel immediate relief. And the thing that we so much want you to hear is that that turning point where you feel relief, no matter how intense the relief is or how soft it is, that feeling of relief is the thing that you want to be most aware of, because that's where your power point is. That's where all of your power is, really. Some of you have been listening to us for a while, and we describe this emotional scale, where on one end of it are the good feeling emotions, love and joy and passion, appreciation. And on the other end of it are the bad feeling emotions like fear and depression, and some of everything in between. And we want to say to you that when you are in this attitude that feels good, you are going with the flow. And when you are in this attitude that feels bad, you are not going with the flow. But we don't want you, from this emotional scale that we are laying out for you, we don't ever want to give you the impression that it is our desire for you today in this moment to turn from depression or fear and to turn your boat around and put a motor on it and go all the way over here to appreciation and love. Because that implies that we don't trust the current, and we do. We want you to just stop doing this, and when you stop doing this, the current will begin to carry you. And as it begins to carry you, don't take this the wrong way, but get it. As the current carries you, once you stop paddling upstream, and you feel the relief of that beginning to move in the direction of who you really are, that's as good as it can be for you right now. And that's got to be good enough. In other words, and not only does it got to be good enough, we don't mean to say that it isn't good enough in any way. We mean to say, that's it. That's all you got to do. Just stop doing that and the stream will take you this way. And once the stream begins to carry you, the stream is carrying you. Do you know what makes the stream go to the speed that it does for you anyway? It's the life you've lived and the things you've asked for. Every time you know what you don't want, you know what you do want, so you put it over there in vibrational escrow, and Source becomes it and calls it to you. So don't you think this is interesting? You and what you've lived is the reason that your stream is moving as it is. And you pushing against that or going in the wrong direction of it is what causes you to feel negative emotion. Are you beginning to feel the power of all of this? Your life has caused you to get your stream moving, and your life or attitude or mood or attention to subjects is what's got you pointed cross current. And so every bit of negative emotion that you're feeling is because of two factors. You've asked for stuff that you're not letting yourself go to. It's just that simple. If you weren't asking, someone called you on the telephone and said, hello, you don't know me. I've just called to tell you that I'm not ever going to call you again. You would say, that's okay with me. You would not feel any negative emotion. There would be no paddling upstream. But if somebody who you really care about called you and said, I know we've had a long relationship and we go way, 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 way back, and I know we've been living together for a long time, and your entitled financial well-being is tied to me, but I'm leaving. I'm never going to call you again. You would, most of you, not say, alrighty then. Most of you would feel strong negative emotion because something that you want is going one way and this conversation is taking you in opposition to it. And the key is to get yourself going in the same direction, energy-wise, no matter what. And today we will show you how to do that. Jerry and Esther had the great fun a few weeks ago of going whitewater rafting with friends in Colorado. And it was such a remarkable day. The first thing that they noticed as they got into this very fast-moving river, there were rapids that were rated at 4, pretty exciting, and some at 3, and not much else. And as they were moving in the river, the first thing that became really obvious to Jerry and Esther is that there was no possibility that they were going to be able to paddle upstream. That current was going to have its way with them. And we want you to understand that the current of life is going to have its way with you. You can't stop being who you are. And when you try, you feel rotten. Are you getting the sense of this? That it is your life in this body, just the way you planned it, that has caused you to expand and become more. And that the larger vibrational part of you becomes more. And if you don't let the rest of you keep up with it, you have a tug of war going on inside of you. You're like a two-headed monster. And we want both heads to go in the same direction. It just goes better that way, you see. So, as Jerry and Esther and their dear friends were in this raft moving down the river, another of the things that became very apparent is that there were some things in the river that were not going with the flow. Big boulders were rooted to the bottom of the river. So when the flow approached those big boulders, big gushers and geysers of water was spiking sometimes 10 or 20 feet in the air as this fast-moving water was moving around these rocks. And we want to say to you that when you don't let yourself go with your new idea, when you sort of cling to the bottom of the stream that you got going, that stream beats you up pretty good, doesn't it? And when you complain about how life is beating you up, we want to say to you, it's the life that you have created. Because the only reason that that river is going that fast is because you've lived life and asked for this and 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 this. A car that's going 100 miles an hour when it hits a tree, it's a bigger problem than a car that's going 5 miles an hour and hits a tree. And how fast your stream, or in this example, your car is going, is all about the life you've been living and what you've been asked for. And it is also in part due to the energy that you projected as you came in. In other words, none of you intended to just come here and not observe and not conclude and not create. Not one of you said that. Every one of you said, I'll go forth into the environment of earth And I will weigh the pros and the cons, the pluses and the minuses. I will evaluate the contrast, and I will come to my personal preferences, because then you still remembered how powerful and important your preferences were. And we want to exaggerate this, amplify this for you, because we want you to feel